I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that.
Joy Behar went too far this time, and there's no going back. During a recent episode of The View, she made a comment that shocked the audience, with many calling it clearly sexist and completely out of line with the values she says she supports.
No more funding for illegal DEI programs means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness.
And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not.
Today was the first press conference for Donald Trump's press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. And if you assume she was a pretty white lady with a noticeable cross necklace, you were right. And of course she was Trump's press secretary during the campaign, but that was all about trashing Joe Biden. Now she's in an elevated position representing the White House, and she's here to talk about what the administration is going to do moving forward.
When Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure.
Oh, shit!
Talking about Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump's 27-year-old press secretary, Behar claimed she was hired only because of her looks. "I think she's there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10, she said.
I'm so sick and tired of the media pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying that he is sowing division in this country. He is not. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. But the good news is Americans don't buy it.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
I'm reworking the text to a simple script-style in English, ensuring it's easy to read and understand. The comment immediately sparked outrage, not just among conservatives, but from people all over the political spectrum who found it both hypocritical and degrading. Why? Because it came from someone who often talks about feminism and the importance of empowering women in leadership. Behar's remark wasn't just an insult to Leavitt, it was an insult to every woman who has worked hard to earn her place in politics, business, or any other field.
Echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie, and yes, you will take political.
Critics quickly noticed the double standard. They wondered how someone who claims to support women's rights could reduce a highly qualified political strategist to just her appearance. Social media exploded with backlash, and one user summed it up perfectly. Joy Behar accusing Karoline Leavitt of being hired for her looks is exactly the kind of sexism The View says it fights against.
Commentator said, Whoopi is mansplaining the press secretary job to Karoline Leavitt. Hilarious.
Karoline Leavitt didn't accept the comment. Instead, she called out The View for their hypocrisy, responding with a detailed, factual rebuttal that left no room for doubt. Karoline Leavitt wasn't going to let it go. Instead of just defending herself, she flipped the situation on The View by exposing their hypocrisy. When Joy Behar made her remark, everyone expected Leavitt to either ignore it or respond calmly. But instead, she delivered a sharp, fact-based comeback that left no room for doubt.
He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political because he's experienced it himself.
And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because Black people couldn't get into colleges.
Leavitt responded with confidence and facts, completely shutting down the insult thrown at her. She made it clear that women in politics, no matter their beliefs, should not be judged by their looks. And if The View claims to support women, they can't tear them down at the same time. She also took on the claim that Trump is a threat to democracy. Instead of just defending him, she shifted the focus to a bigger issue: how the media's negative coverage of conservatives has fueled hostility, even leading to 2 assassination attempts on Trump. Her response wasn't just about defending Trump, it was a direct challenge to The View's approach. She exposed how the show often relies on personal attacks instead of addressing real issues. By the time she finished, the room felt different. The hosts looked uncomfortable, and even Whoopi Goldberg seemed unsure of how to respond. When Whoopi tried to change the subject, it backfired. Leavitt kept pushing forward, calling out media-driven falsehoods. As Whoopi tried again to steer the conversation away, things got even more intense. Whoopi tried to take control of the conversation, but Leavitt wasn't having it. She cut in firmly. No, please, let's stay on topic. She pushed forward, pointing out how constant attacks on Trump have encouraged extremists and led to real-world consequences. At that moment, it was clear. This wasn't just a debate. Leavitt was exposing how media figures twist conversations to fit their own narratives. Her refusal to let Whoopi change the subject was both bold and effective. She didn't back down or get distracted. Instead, Whoopi's attempt to silence her only proved Leavitt's point. Viewers noticed, and social media exploded with praise, calling it one of the most powerful moments in recent political debates. But Leavitt wasn't done yet. She turned the spotlight on The View's hypocrisy. She didn't just defend herself. She called out the show's double standards on women's empowerment. One of the most striking moments came when she pointed out that The View loves to preach feminism, until a conservative woman speaks up. They love to talk about empowering women, she said. But the moment a woman disagrees with their politics, they tear her down, the very thing they claim to stand against. This wasn't just a passing comment, it was a direct hit. View has a long history of dismissing conservative women like Kayleigh McEnany and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. By calling out this double standard, Leavitt made people question whether The View actually supports women, or just the ones who agree with their politics. Then came Whoopi Goldberg's meltdown over wokeness. She didn't just lose her temper, she lost control of the entire discussion. At one point, she brought up an old comment from Leavitt: "There will be no wokeness here." Clearly rattled, Whoopi launched into a passionate speech about how wokeness drives progress. But she ignored the fact that wokeness has also divided people rather than bringing them together. Instead of having a real discussion about what wokeness means today, Whoopi spoke down to Leavitt, as if she didn't understand history or social progress. The irony? By doing that, Whoopi proved exactly why so many people criticize wokeness. It often comes across as elitist and dismissive. But this wasn't just about one heated exchange. The backlash against The View was growing. This time, they didn't just face criticism, they faced public embarrassment. Instead of discrediting Karoline Leavitt, they ended up discrediting themselves. Clips of Joy Behar's comment and Leavitt's strong response spread across social media almost instantly. People from both sides of the political spectrum called out The View's hypocrisy. Even those who disagreed with Leavitt politically admitted that Behar's remark was out of line and that Leavitt handled it with grace and confidence. This widespread backlash showed growing frustration with media outlets like The View, which claim to support women's empowerment but often ignore conservative women. Even some liberal commentators called out Behar, with one writing, "You don't have to agree with Karoline Leavitt to see that reducing her accomplishments to her looks is disgusting." But this wasn't just a win for Leavitt. It was a wake-up call for viewers fed up with media double standards. As public support for Leavitt grew, ABC executives were reportedly scrambling behind the scenes. Insiders say the backlash caught them off guard, and they're becoming increasingly frustrated with Behar's repeated controversies. One source even suggested that executives are now questioning whether keeping Behar on the show is worth the constant PR headaches. Controversy has always been part of The View's brand, but there's a difference between creating debate and alienating viewers. This time, they may have crossed the line. With ratings already slipping, incidents like this only make things worse. Advertisers are reportedly getting nervous, wondering if The View is still a good platform for their brands. Insiders say ABC executives are tired of dealing with the fallout. ABC executives are reportedly growing tired of the constant controversies and are now considering a major shakeup. Could this mean Joy Behar's time on The View is coming to an end? But this isn't just about one host. It's a much bigger issue. This controversy highlights a repeated pattern in how conservative women are treated in mainstream media. From Kayleigh McEnany to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, we've seen them dismissed, insulted, or discredited simply because of their political beliefs. Shows like The View claim to support women's empowerment, yet that support seems to disappear when it comes to conservative women. Instead of having real debates, they resort to personal attacks and dismissive remarks. This double standard doesn't just hurt individuals, it undermines the very idea of feminism and equality that they claim to stand for. The backlash proves that audiences are noticing this hypocrisy and are no longer staying silent. Karoline Leavitt didn't just defend herself, she exposed The View's bias and turned their attack into a bigger conversation about fairness in the media. Now, with ABC scrambling for damage control and viewers demanding accountability, the big question is, will The View finally change, or will they keep going down this same path? One thing is certain, Karoline Leavitt came out stronger, while The View may never fully recover from this.